Hello and welcome to another episode of the Day One Patch Podcast. I'm your temporary host, Matt Lawrence. I'm joined by surprise guest, esteemed founder, whatever, Adriano Petty. How's it going?
Hi, how's it going? Long time no see.
It's been a while. I actually recently deleted my project files just because like it was literally 500 gigabytes of project files, and like you're like way back. Like I noticed like there's like a with Adriano episode that's like way back.
I think there might have been one in maybe in December.
I think that's right. Maybe.
Yeah, the last one was definitely 2024. It wasn't 2025.
Yeah, certainly.
Oh my God.
It's been a while. And I'm also joined by esteemed content creator, The Sidetrack.
Not host.
Host.
Introduce me by my online name and not my real name.
I thought I'm trying to advertise our mantras. I don't know what you want to call it. I'm a temporary host.
Not the phrase.
Not incorrect hosting.
That's right. Yeah, The Sidetrack online, but you can call me Alan.
You call it Alan?
Yeah.
Alan.
Hi.
How's it going?
I don't know if people get that Jurassic Park reference, Matt.
You know what's really bad? I knew it was a reference to something. I didn't know it was a reference to Jurassic Park.
You didn't know you were citing Jurassic Park when you did that?
No. I've only seen Jurassic Park in its totality. Maybe I remember once, and I think it's twice.
Well, the first one's a masterpiece, but you're specifically you're quoting something from the third movie.
Oh, gret. Fantastic. Because I have seen that. I remember that, and that's not the greatest.
Yeah, Dr. Grant falls asleep, and in the dream, he's just before he wakes up, one of the dinosaurs, like the velociraptors, like looks at him and like melts Alan and like says his name in a dream, and then he wakes up, and then there's somebody in real life calling his name like Alan.
Can I just say I fucking hate that trope. I hate that trope of the like person is like seeing something that seems weird, and then they then a character like in their reality, their perception or whatever starts talking, like an animal typically will start like talking to them, and they're like, whoa, that's weird, and then they snap back to reality and it's like a person saying it instead of the animal, and it's like, oh, they were dreaming or they were phasing out, and it's like, can we stop
something
with this
really
one?
dumb, something really dumb like a talking spoon or something,
or a dog, and it's like a really badly CG'd mouth.
Mm-hmm.
You should make one for your stream, Tim. Just have like one of your like, right, we'll be right back, and it's just like Kilo being like, Tim, no, excuse me, Alan.
Yeah, that's right. Can't believe you just doxed me with my real name on the internet.
It has been several times. You've been on like well over 100 episodes of this podcast.
Hundreds. I will thank you.
Has it been hundreds? Likely.
Well, this
right?
is episode 500 and
517, 517.
Yeah, over 500. So I've probably been, because you guys started setting up like remote setup for the podcast during COVID, and I've been on, I think, most of them since then.
That's yeah, you're right. Yeah, because it would have been.
You want a little fun fact?
Yeah.
All the episode itineraries are recorded.
All the episode itineraries.
We have a shared calendar. Yeah, I don't know if you even toggle it on that, but there's a Day One Patch shared calendar. As you guys record the episodes, I go into each episode and I make a note about who was in each particular episode. You could go back and actually count based on.
Oh my God.
So I remember you used to do that. I've like since like reinstalled my Outlook, so I don't think I have it toggled on. Although no, yeah, DOPP Zoom. I didn't realize that you actually go back and you still do that.
So if you backtrack to like a random episode and you open it, you'll see like I note about who's in that episode and who's not in that episode.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So all that's recorded.
Pretty wild.
We could go back and do an Excel spreadsheet.
We'll get. I was gonna say we'll get Copilot to make a spreadsheet for us to tell us. It'd probably work though. It would actually likely work since they're all integrated together.
Mm-hmm. You know, that actually would be interesting to ask and be like, hey, go back through all these all these calendar items and tell me how many of these have listed as Tim as that has been on the podcast.
Man, it's an experiment. Maybe we'll do it. Maybe that'll be our fun fact for next week.
We should do it for you and see how many episodes you've missed. Because we've talked about this a number of times. It's only like 3, right? 2 or 3.
Yeah, it's not that many. So Copilot should be able to pick up on that.
Yeah.
Man, you know what? Actually, really small, like little tidbit. I used to give Copilot YouTube links and be like, yo, man, like tell me what weapons are in this this game guide, right? It'd be like a Remnant 2 build guide, and I'd be like, yo, tell me what weapons, tell me the amulets and stuff. Super useful. I used to talk about it all the time. Brought it up several times on the show. Went to go use it the other day. It's like, I can't watch videos, and I was like, what the fuck? So I tried to do like the AI thing, where I was like, yes, you can. You used to, and it's like, no, I was probably pulling the information from somewhere else. I'm like, but you weren't though. But you weren't. Like, you definitely had access to it because you friggin' told me like the timestamps and stuff.
But even if it was, it's like, okay, AI, even if you are not, do whatever you were doing before to give me that information. So you're pulling it from somewhere. Just do that again.
Yeah, like please.
Just pretend you're watching the video. Just
transcribe it or something. Like just do whatever you did. But we're gonna go back in time with video game fun facts with Matt. That's me. Pretty weird to introduce my own segment, but here we are. And we're going to be talking about the PSX. Now, this is actually something that is not the PS1. This is a different device. So the PS1 was the codename PSX. This actual device is the PSX. So the PSX was a console/digital video recorder released in Japan on December 13th, 2003, and it was designed as a general-purpose consumer video device, and thus it was marketed by the main Sony Corporation instead of the expected Sony Computer Entertainment. The device also does not sport the traditional PlayStation branding, although the PSX text is in the traditional PS2 font style. Now, the PSX, like I said, is a fully functional digital video recorder. It included an IR remote in the box. It also included several inputs that many of them are not really relevant today, but including S-video, composite video, and RF. It is able to tune to analog VHF and CATV, which I believe is for the DVR functionality of this thing. It's also able to link to a PlayStation Portable or PSP to transfer photos, videos, and music via USB. It also included, this thing's kind of all encompassing, it also included software for non-linear video editing, image editing, and audio editing. You can pretty much think of a PSX as a DVR plus a PS2 all in one box. Online gaming was also possible on this thing if you had a broadband connection. And the PSX was actually the first device to use the popularized at the time XMB or cross media bar interface, just like the PSP, the PS3, some Blu-ray players, and 2008 era Bravia TVs. Now, shortly before the release, Sony unfortunately had to omit a bunch of the features in order to release by the holiday season in 2003. So, for example, CDR and DVD-RW disc reading was dropped. However, these features were patched in via a firmware update down the road. You could record video to the built-in hard drives, and recordings could actually be transferred to memory sticks. And I don't mean memory sticks like a flash drive, USB drive, although I don't know if that's possible. But what I'm talking about right now is Memory Stick Duo and Memory Stick Pro Duo. So you could basically like transfer to one of these memory cards, and then if it was one of the ones that are compatible with, I think it was like some Sony video cameras, but certainly the PSP, you could actually transfer the video onto a PSP effectively with this memory card, and then you could actually like watch like TV or whatever you recorded on your PSP. The cool thing here, though, is that with the built-in disk drive, it was actually a disk burner. So you could actually burn your recordings into burnable disks. Now, initial sales were good enough to sell the device out with 100K units selling during its first week. However, sales fell due to the large price tag, and thus the device was never released outside of Japan. Prices were, however, eventually lowered in September of 2004, and then the sales slowly increased. Now, introductory pricing for this thing, there were two models. A 160 gigabyte model was sold for 79,800 yen, and the 250 gigabyte model was 99,800 yen. And these were not SSDs, these were hard drives for those gigabyte models. The device, unfortunately, was discontinued in 2005, so shortly after the price drop. Now, the PSX is compatible with all first-party PlayStation and PlayStation 2 controllers and memory cards, with the exception of the Pocket Station, which is sort of like a memory card that's like a VMU, like a PS VMU, if you will. If you're a Dreamcast fan, you'll know what I'm talking about. It almost looks like a little Game Boy, but it's also the memory card to save games to. Or I guess not save games, but save game saves and things like that. There were also two controller ports on the backside of the PSX and two memory cards on the front, but they were hidden behind a panel cover. There was also a PSX branded DualShock 2 controller that was released. It was sold separately, was not included with the unit. And it also sported a longer than normal 4-meter cord with it. This is back in the days of everything was, plug, don't plug in dongles, actually plug in the controllers themselves.
4 meters, eh?
4 meters. That's pretty long. You play like skip rope in your jump rope for heart in your
long. Jump rope for heart.
Yeah.
Now, all versions, unfortunately, of the multi-tap are incompatible with this device, period. And a PSX specific multi-tap did not exist. So basically, this thing is 1 or 2 player, and unless you're playing a game where you pass the same controllers on, you're kind of done. Also, some games were incompatible, specifically games that needed 2 or more USB ports, also incompatible. Now, even though this thing had quite a short lifespan, there were 8 retail configurations of the PSX that supported different configurations. These include things such as different color changes like white, transparent, or silver, various storage options like the 160 or the 250 gigabyte hard drive like we already mentioned. And also there were some that was kind of interesting. So there were some that had different ports. So I noticed there was a big sort of like model chart on Wikipedia, and only a couple of the models there actually had FireWire ports. It's a different time, different era, but this thing really kind of was like a pretty cool little like all-encompassing like set-top box, like quite a powerful set-top box for the time, especially like if you were like, you had satellite or you had cable and you wanted to like DVR stuff, you could DVR to this, and then you didn't want to have another set-top box, which was a video game console. This thing's all in one, but again, quite expensive and not like super gaming focused with the lack of the multi-tap and stuff. But that's it. That's the fun fact. The PSX, not to be confused with codename PSX, the PlayStation 1. All right. Shall we get into the top stories of the week?
Hit me with it.
You're the host.
Let's do it. So we have a smorgasbord of stories today. I'll do like a bit of a summary, I guess. So we're going to be talking about the potential Oblivion remake. We're going to be talking about the Monster Hunter Wilds story. BlizzCon as well, with some E3-esque vibes, but we'll get into that when we get there. And then a kind of a funny one. Tim will remember this. The Defiance MMO could be making a comeback.
Defiance? What? Oh, no.
I was shocked when I saw the news and thought I should include it.
Can I admit something about Defiance right now?
Yeah.
I've watched the full 3 seasons of that show.
I didn't even know there were 3 seasons.
And I did not mind it. It's not a terrible show.
As somebody who's still not really into sci-fi, I was watching that show and I had a friend who was also like pretty intent on being into it, and he knew that there was also the game, and like as the show progressed, the game story would progress. And I was like, that's a cool concept, and I don't have a lot of shows that I want to watch right now, so I'm gonna, I can like get in on this, and I can have a friend who will do it too. It's supposed to be a multiplayer game, and I have a couple dozen hours in that game in my Steam library still. I haven't played it in like 10 years, but I didn't think that it was so bad. And I was also at a time where I was like looking for an MMO to get back into because I was kind of sick of WoW. And it fell off really hard. I think I watched I think there were 2 times that they put out an episode of the show, and to like push the story forward, and then it updated the game, and I played a little bit, and then we both just like fell off it super hard. They never went back. But I enjoyed my time with it. It wasn't like I was like, oh, this is shit.
I think you and I and Ryan played it a little bit, Tim. I remember you and I playing it.
Yep. Totally fine game.
And sorry, did you say that you watched the show as well?
Yep. I think I watched it either the first or second time that a new episode of the show came out, and then it updated the game too to reflect the events of the episode.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know, maybe something else came out at the time and we just did that instead. And then we were like, oh shit, remember Defiance? We haven't done that for a couple months. Maybe we should go back to that. We just never did.
Kind of like back in the day of like the companion app, right? Where it's kind of like they're like, oh, watch TV and then hop into the game and shit like that. But let's dive into the first top story here. Bethesda may shadow drop The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion Remake in April, according to some reports. So a reported remake of The Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion has been rumored and leaked for a while now. And the thing is things are kind of really getting spicy. So in 2025, right before the Xbox Developer Direct, this was back in January, the title was allegedly going to be shown off. Leakers and the kind of rumors and everything kind of started spinning up. And then the event happened. There was no announcement. Bethesda was basically, if not completely, silent. And so it's like, okay, maybe this thing does not exist. So as of March 14th, so fast forward a few months, 2025, it seems that Bethesda may shadow drop the remake in April 2025, according to a reliable leaker named Nate the Hate. Although a quick reveal and subsequent release is also possible, kind of in classic Bethesda style, where they're like, we've been working on this and it's coming soon. Now, it is rumored to be in development at Virtuos using Unreal Engine 5 and may contain gameplay changes to mechanics such as stamina, sneak, blocking, and there were some other things in there, I think archery and things like that. And also, just a personal note, kind of having dived in, or kind of went head deep into the, I guess, the rumor mill, whatever it is, in January this year, before the Xbox Developer Direct, because I was expecting it to be shown off there. I heard that this thing might be like a combo engine remake of sorts, where they use Unreal Engine 5 and creation all together. So basically, it would be potentially like Unreal Engine 5 would handle the graphics, so the textures, make things that look really nice. But then the creation engine would be used for the gameplay, so the gameplay feels the same. And this is kind of fueled by Todd Howard making comments. I forget exactly where, but there was an interview with him somewhere where he mentioned that he kind of believes that, games like Oblivion and Morrowind, it's good to keep them updated, as in it's good to keep them up to date so they run on modern systems. Like, you can actually stream these things on Game Pass. However, he kind of thinks like they're like a kind of like a mark in time, where it's like, this is what, a Bethesda game was back in 2006. So what do you guys think? Do you guys think this is real? Is it not? And are you guys going to play it?
I mean, we've talked about this before, and I don't think we talked about it on the show necessarily, but like, I am also I have been a big fan for almost a decade now, I think, of the fan project Skyblivion, which is set to release this year finally, which is a group headed by Kyle Rebel, or Rebel's Eyes online, where for years and years now they've amassed quite a team of hundreds of people in their free time developing this basically complete rebuild of Oblivion, pretty well from the ground up in Skyrim's engine. And a number of these mods have mod projects have come and gone over the years. They've started up and they've realized it's way too big an undertaking. They've given up and stuff, but this one has kept going. I think they restarted once back in 2016. And then that's the beginning of this project that's almost released. So it's like almost 10 years they've even been working on it, this particular iteration. And it's so clearly a love letter to Oblivion. Like, everybody that has got their hands on this mod project is doing it because they just love Oblivion so much, and they just want to see it redone for like a modern audience, and like with modern visuals, pretty much. Obviously, a lot of the original components of Oblivion are being reused, such as the voice acting and some of the music. But they are adding their own touch to it as well. They have professional composers writing new music for the mod, and they've got people that are drawing 3D artists, like completely redesigning a lot of these iconic weapons, armors, locations from Oblivion, while trying to still maintain that kind of almost cartoony level high fantasy world that Oblivion was. And from some of the videos and streams that they've released and shown for the project, it's like so far beyond what I would have possibly expected it to be. Like, it's all this stuff. Obviously, the whole project, they don't have to do it because it's just something that they want to do, right? And they have no obligation. And it's coming out fantastically, and I'm so excited for it. And with that being said, at the same time, like, I'm also keen to see an official Oblivion re-release, almost just for the sake of comparison. Because for the most part with the mod, they're trying to keep things like gameplay. They're trying to keep it pretty loyal to the original game. Faithful is the word I was looking for. And, Skyrim's combat and engine are inherently different from Oblivion. So there's, only so much they can do, but they are trying to do what they can to keep it, like I said, as one-to-one as possible. So if the remake is going to have, like, the official remake is going to have reworks to mechanics and things like that, I would be interested to see, like, what sort of take they're going to have and what direction they're going to go with it. I don't know necessarily that it would be like a day one full price purchase for me, because I would be hard pressed if the Sky Oblivion project is going to come out, like, we'll just say for argument's sake, like a month or two after the alleged official Oblivion remake. I would just wait for like a free release, because like I said, it's a mod, right? They're releasing it for free. They've been doing all this work for years just to release this project for free for everyone to have access to. And then obviously like give feedback on it and tweak it and stuff, and they'll keep going with the project. Like, release doesn't mean they're done, you know, they're going to keep going with it. But yeah, I'm interested in both for sure, because I would love to kind of see a comparison almost to an extent.
I was going to say that it would be an interesting comparison, especially when we don't really know what this, like assuming this thing exists, we don't really know what this remake is. Like, is it a complete redo and everything's in Unreal Engine 5? How in depth and what gameplay changes are actually going to come? Like, I listed out some of those mechanics, but I mean, if you rework stamina, that's not that big of a deal. So it would be interesting, because we know that, as far as I understand, I think Sky Oblivion is more like Skyrim, right? Where it has like more of the Skyrim, like you could sprint, and there's like those quality of life sort of like general upgrade, like player, I don't know, I guess gameplay upgrades, I guess you could say, in Skyrim versus Oblivion. Because Oblivion, you cannot sprint.
Yeah.
For example.
And there's no, to answer your question, it is Skyrim. This is a mod overhaul project for Skyrim. You're playing Skyrim modded to be Oblivion is what it is. So, the fact like that you can do the shield bash and stuff, and then the like chops and the charge attacks and things, that's with your one-handed weapons. It's all Skyrim mechanics, but they're adapting as much as they can to Oblivion, and they're redoing. Part of the overhaul is obviously to do like the skills, the magic system, and all that stuff, and that is trying to reflect Oblivion as faithfully as it can as well.
It's going to be, I think it's going to be a cool, if both exist, it's going to be like a cool race, because we also see, I think Sky Oblivion, I can't remember if we did discuss this, but I can't remember what we like found out or we looked up maybe. Like, they are adding some content, are they? Or are they just trying to stick to being just purely Oblivion with Sky Oblivion?
I mean, they're adding content in that it is like, they're going to have the same locations, but those like locations are a bit rebuilt. They're redesigned. They're fleshed out more. And they're also, one of the like new things they're adding, you could say, is they are redoing a lot of boss fights so that they actually feel like a boss fight. Like, I don't know if you remember playing Oblivion 3 for the first time, getting to the end of the main story, you're fighting Mankar Cameron in his like paradise, and there's just kind of a bunch of NPCs running around in a room, and he's there, and you can kind of just run up to him, and you can like kind of hit him 5 or 6 times, he just dies, and that's it. Like,
I think I accidentally killed him first. Yeah, accidentally. Yeah, like, I just like fired an arrow and
he's supposed to be like the big bad of the entire story, and you can just like wipe him while he's monologuing to you about like bringing Mehrunes Dagon back and shit, and it's like, what? Shouldn't we have like made a bigger deal of this guy? And like the robes that he drops aren't that good and stuff like that. So it's like they're making, I can't remember the phrase that they use, but they are remaking a lot of the big boss fights. We're talking end of each guild. We're talking end of the storyline. We're talking big iconic dungeons. They are making the final encounter of these parts of the game a whole unique reworked encounter with a proper like dynamic environment and new fight mechanics, phases, things like that. So it's like it's gonna go hard. They've been cooking for like a decade, and they, like I said, it's a bunch of stuff they didn't have to do. They could have literally just 1-to-1 rebuilt Oblivion in Skyrim, and people would have been happy with that, I think.
I was gonna say, yeah, this is going pretty hard actually.
But the fact that they are taking what's there kind of as a groundwork, trying to build on top of it while still maintaining the like the essence of Oblivion and the original vibes and stuff. They want to be faithful, but they also want it to be like you go back and you play Oblivion now, the combat, it fucking sucks. Like, it doesn't compare. It's not an action game. Like, action games now where you've got like combos and stuff and like, different weapon types and all this stuff that play differently. Oblivion is, you have a one-handed weapon or a two-handed weapon or a bow, or you use magic. That's it. And it's just your attack speed is and you just chop away at an enemy until they die. Skyrim, not really all that different. They added like a stagger mechanic. So it's not going to be like super upgraded from, Oblivion's combat and stuff, but everything is going to look much fresher. honestly, all the magic items, they all have a unique design. You won't just see like a steel longsword that's got a special name and a magic effect on it. Like it has a proper unique model. All the magical items have a unique model to them in the new project, which is really cool.
That is nice, because I know that it would just look like, oh look, another Daedric mace. You'd have to go into the inventory, and it's like, oh, it's actually a magical or like a unique.
Yeah, yeah. So they've done a really, really fantastic job. And like, even if this project takes longer or it never truly does release, which I have full faith that it will, but even if it doesn't, just like seeing the work that they did is almost enough for me. Like it's so, I don't know. I'm just such a big fan of it. And I just think it's so commendable what they've been working on, and I'm super excited to see it come out. What
about you, Adriano? Are you interested in Oblivion at all? Because I don't think you've played the original. And would you, like, if you decided, okay, I'm going to play this thing, let's just say both of these things exist, which one would you do?
I don't know that I would do either. I say that I play a lot of things, but I don't play a lot of things. So I'm happy. I'm happy that, like, you know, it's that an Elder Scrolls game is being cleaned up for future, for people to experience. But I respect it from a distance. But I see myself playing any of them.
What about like going?
I would probably touch the Witcher series before I touch this.
Oh my god, that's arguably a
much larger undertaking.
Yes, but there's a Witcher remake done in the Witcher 3 engine coming. They announced that a long time ago.
The official one, yeah.
Yeah, so like I feel more confident jumping into a Witcher remake than I do Elder Scrolls. But that's my take on that.
What would you do though? Like if let's just say you were to jump into any game, so it doesn't have to be this, but if there was like a fan remade one, like we've been discussing, like a Sky Oblivion equivalent of any game, and then like an official one comes out, like would you go more official, even if let's say like the official one's bad for whatever reason? Like would you would you I guess here's a question, because like you have a spreadsheet where you track whether you beat stuff. If you went in and beat the modded version, like if you beat like Sky Oblivion, would you say Oblivion has been beaten?
No.
Okay.
No, because admittedly, a modded version or unofficial version wouldn't go into my spreadsheet. Because it's not.
It's a different project.
It's not a recognized. The official copyright holder does not actually publish it, so it wouldn't go into my spreadsheet.
Not even in its own section. Like there's no section for like mods or fan.
If I do, it would be a different tab. It would be a separate tab with its own separate database. I'm not against one day putting in. If I got really into emulating, because I thought when the emulators came on iOS that I would go full hog on the emulator. No, I fell off almost immediately. So it was that weird thing where everybody wanted it. Then like, okay, here, emulator on the marketplace, and now nobody gives a shit. Nobody's talking about it. So if I ever did go into emulation or illegitimate stuff, I could see myself doing a separate sheet or a separate tab. But as of now, there's too many legitimate games that I have not played. I don't think I would ever do that.
Like even if you emulated like a game, even though it's like an official, I don't want to say an official ROM, but it is the game. Like if you like, I don't know, somehow got the ROM of Oblivion just for the sake of it. Somehow you got the ROM for Oblivion. You're playing it on your emulator on your phone. Like you wouldn't consider even that as Oblivion beat if you completed it.
I would keep it. I consider Oblivion beat in my head, but it wouldn't go on my spreadsheet.
Okay.
Like the sheet does not the sheet tracking is not meant for me to track what I beat and what I like and dislike. It's a byproduct. It's in there, but the sheet is actually meant to track what I legally own, so I don't have to find what I own everywhere. That's the purpose of it. And me tracking what I beat and I like is just an added bonus. And I don't legally own a mod or a pirated copy anywhere, so it wouldn't go into my sheet.
Okay.
That's the reason. It's
like a GOG Galaxy kind of thing.
Yeah.
But one that like works flawlessly.
Yeah. One that the sheet I started because I didn't like what like other databases and other launchers that are supposed to have everything in one. I just never liked it, so that's why I started. But to answer your original question with Elder Scrolls, if it was or any sort of game equivalent, if there was a illegitimate remake versus a like legitimate remake, I would I would go for the legitimate remake every time. I would only do the illegitimate one like in a desperate attempt. So
I have to play this, and I only have an iPhone.
yeah, no, but perfect example would be and I'll probably mention again when you ask me what we've been playing, but one of the few things that I've been playing is I've been playing the original Silent Hill. And before I remembered, I figured out how you can actually buy a PlayStation game legitimately on the PS3 still. I did tempt with trying to get that to run on the Delta emulator on iOS. It didn't run very well, and that's why I tried to look for alternate ways of playing that game legitimately. And that's when I figured out and remembered that you can actually I can buy it on the PS3 store. So I've been legitimately emulating that on its own family of consoles.
Well, you've been playing the first Diablo. I don't know if you still are.
On and off, yeah.
Would you play Hellfire? Because Hellfire is a tricky one, where Hellfire was not a condoned and not a like, yes, this is a part of our game thing. It was Sierra decided to make an expansion, and then that kind of like began the legal process of like, hey, you can't be doing that.
Okay, yeah. So I'll work backwards from this. How would I play it?
PS1, I suppose. I don't.
It's
and PC maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, it's on GOG Galaxy.
Is it actually like Hellfire is? Okay.
It's on GOG Galaxy, and then so if it's on GOG Galaxy, that means they have a license from somebody somewhere who owns it, which means it's been greenlit and it is an approved product. So that is a legitimate release.
Yeah, because I guess it was before we like find ourselves in the framework of today.
Yeah. Yeah, when it was made, I would have said it was made illegitimately, but it has since been recognized and has been accepted by the original publishers, and like I can legally pay somebody to get a copy of it and play it. So it is a recognized game.
It's like this time and this time only we will accept this.
Yeah, but yeah, legitimate over illegitimate for me.
Okay,
that's my prerogative.
I feel like I would be the same. Like I'll definitely like put Sky Oblivion on my radar. It already is, but just kind of like how like Fallout London was on my radar and other Fallout mods and things like that are on my radar, but there's still like I still haven't played Fallout London and things like that. So like I think I would treat it the same. I think it also really depends on how this thing's been made. Like if this is just a graphic upgrade, I could see myself playing a bit and then being like, okay, like I've been here. But if it's like, oh, the game's actually quite different and is like a really fun to play again, then I'll be like, oh, okay, like I'll give this a try. But if this thing is shadow dropping soon, I will still be playing Stalker 2. So who knows when I'll get to it. Next story here. Monster Hunter Wilds' breakout success is because of its story, claims the producer. This story comes to us from GameSpot. Monster Hunter Wilds, the latest entry in the Monster Hunter series, has been a massive success, selling over 8 million copies in the first 3 days of release and achieving the highest launch week dollar sales since Call of Duty Black Ops 6. Now, I'm going to potentially butcher this name, but producer Ryozo Tsujimoto attributes the success to the game's immersive story, a stronger narrative focus than other previous entities, and its fully voiced characters alongside the introductory of cross-play functionality. Yes. However, there has been some mixed story reception. So again, this is a GameSpot article. The story was praised by the producer, but GameSpot's review felt it added little value and drew attention from an otherwise weak narrative. And I kind of agree with that. I know that we've been playing. I know that Ryan and Tim and myself have been playing Monster Hunter Wilds, and it's just sort of like, okay, guys, let's get through the story. It's not like experience the story, like take your time and watch every cutscene and know all the lore. It's just sort of like, let's go kill some monsters, go through these on-rail sections, and let's move on kind of thing.
I think that for Monster Hunter as a series, the narrative is definitely the most fleshed out it's ever been, but it's not like in comparison to games that we have now that are known and praised for being strong narrative games. It's not a strong narrative. It's just not. Like they made a big deal about it, but it's in terms of the stories that are out there, it's pretty rudimentary. There's no twists and turns. It's not that compelling. It has some cool cinematic moments for sure, but I think that is independent from the actual narrative. Like it's not that compelling. And I said this is a huge fan of the series.
This is like something that you said actually when we were playing, where you were saying how like the trailers and the previews actually showed off the game's like, here's the ecosystems and here's this and here's that, and like take a look at the world and how like dynamic it is and like how nice it is and stuff, and it's open world now and whatever, all these things. And then it's sort of like the story's like, hey, we're gonna go check out the ice region or the this other region or this other biome. And so it's like, okay, now I'm on rails. I'm gonna set my like whatever the horse thing's called. I'm gonna set my mount to auto like route. Literally put my controller down and I just chat with you guys in a Discord chat while my horse thing takes me through until it's like, okay, next mission. It's like, okay, let's go.
Yeah, like I said, like in a lot of the pre-release coverage they were doing, like it was supposed to be such a focus on the environment, on the wildlife, on the endemic life, on how dynamic these environments were, and they said they'd basically set it up like a sandbox in that there were going to be encounters between different monsters that even the devs hadn't seen. They'd set them to be able to do it, but they hadn't seen that particular dynamic before. Like these monsters at this time of day in this weather, having this behavior, right? So there's very dynamic possibilities. But all that goes to the wayside when in the story, you're bouncing back and forth between areas. You got these on-rails sections where the characters are telling you in basically excessive flowery terms to go fight the monster. And, I think they focused too much on the actual, like, giving backstory to the characters and focusing on details of characters that are fine. Like, it's fine to have that in a story, but it doesn't add so much to the narrative. Like, it feels like there's a lot of plot holes in it too. Like, a pretty major one to me is, and I guess this is very minor spoilers for kind of the main story of Monster Hunter Wilds if you haven't played it through yet, but just in the next 10 seconds, I'll say that. So when you meet Nata at the beginning of the game, he doesn't speak the language of the people, and then he is alleged to have spent a couple of years with the hunters and the guild and stuff and learns their language. And then when you finally meet his tribe again, his guild or his group, they right away can communicate. And it's like, I thought he spoke an ancient foreign language, but now we can all talk to each other? That doesn't make sense. So there's like that really big glaring plot hole in the story, which like doesn't affect anything because obviously you want to be able to like talk to people, but it's like, why have that detail in the story for Nata if it's completely irrelevant? Yeah, it's like that sort of thing that happens repeatedly through the story, and it's like it feels like they're focusing too much on developing out these details that sure they flesh out the world a little bit, but it doesn't add anything to the story. And then now the producers and the developers are saying that the game is so popular because of its narrative, and everyone's doing the side eye like a monkey meme picture where we're like, yep, that's what it is.
Yeah, I'm sure, bud. I'm sure. This feels like when Bethesda thought that one of the big draws of Fallout 4 was the story, and they thought that people were going to play the story because it was so captivating. They thought people were going to do that first. And the very first thing I do in every Bethesda game, it's like, hey man, go to this town. I'll be like, look down the road. It's like, well, let's head north. Let's go east. And then it's just like take off going east. Like, I don't care.
Yeah. It's the first thing I did in Fallout 4 as well. I didn't go to Sanctuary until like 20 hours into the game.
That's crazy. That's awesome though.
As soon as I went out of the vault, I went straight east and I went to that bunker that has the Securitron outside of it.
Oh my God.
And then like trash heap. Yeah, good times.
Because I remember like it's kind of weird, like with the Bethesda game in particular, if they show off like the introduction, I kind of like retrace their steps a little bit. So like there's like that point where like Todd Howard goes across the little wooden bridge, talks about the volumetric lighting and all that crap. And I'm like, oh, I'll do that. So I go do that. And then it's like, okay, now I'll do my own thing. Rarely do I ever go down the path. What's funny too is like several times I'll be like, oh my God, there is like kind of an intended path. Like I always kind of forget that's a thing. So if I try on a subsequent player or character, I'll be like, oh, I'll go down that path. And then I always get like 20% in. I'm like, I'm not going down this path. This like everything's set up for me. It's boring. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
But back to Monster Hunter, like, no, I agree. We're there for the hunts. We're not there for like the narrative for sure. And like I would say that the on-rail section, the jumping around is not great. Like the game handles really fun. Fighting is cool. I like the changes they made to the light bow gun and stuff. My one complaint, though, for sure, is how they handled the lobby system. Like, I really don't like that. It's like, yeah, so like Adriano, like get this. So let's say all three of us, we're all playing. Let's say we all want, like, our next mission is to go fight a big chicken. Sure. So we all have to talk to the NPC. We go on rails. They tell us all about the story, and we're on rails for, say, 10 minutes. We then get to a part where it says quest start, and you start to attack the chicken. At that point, one of us stays in the mission, and let's say it's me. I stay in the mission. You leave your mission. If he's in a mission, he leaves that mission. We all join on me, assuming we're in a link party. We're not going to get into every little nuance. You guys then join me, and then because we're synced up in the story, after we kill my chicken, your chicken in your story is also dead. But the instant the quest ends, we separate back into our own thing, and we start going down our own instances again. So you have to start the quest, and then you have to leave this quest in the middle of it. And I've been like in the middle of being attacked while I'm trying to freaking leave and manage the menus. I'll say like that is very strange, especially having played Rise a fair bit. Like Rise kind of seemed to know how to do lobbies, and this game's like,
yeah,
well,
it's world style again, where if you're trying to play through the story with a friend, you have to both watch the cutscene, the story cutscene cinematic that typically kind of organically goes from cutscene to gameplay sequence, and then you start fighting the monster. But in this situation, one of you would have to then return from your hunt to then go back to sort of the like lobby part of the game, and then join on your friend to do the hunt with them. There's no watching a cutscene while being in a group and then both organically going into fighting that monster. You have to do it separately. Then one of you joins on the other one, and then when that fight is done, you separate again, and you both keep going through your story. Then one of you leaves, joins on the other one, you do the fight, then separates you again. And you have to do that all the way through the game.
That sounds fucking tedious.
You know what else is tedious? Just trying to figure out how you even do multiplayer with your friends in this game. If I just asked you off the hop, if you wanted to play with your friends in Monster Hunter Wilds, imagine this is the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire question. Do you join a squad, an environment link, a link party, or a lobby?
I'm going to go with environment link.
No.
Okay.
So technically, yes, but that's only if you want to be in the same instance of the world when you're not doing any particularly specific hunt and you just want to go out into the open world section of the game and just hunt whatever's out there in the environment. If you're in a squad, you don't have to be even playing with each other. That's just basically like a guild. If you join a link party, that's how you sync up your story progress so that you can both be going through, make the story progress at the same time as each other. And the lobby is a lobby. It's where you're in the game, but you're also sort of instanced with 100 other players. And to even just... So the problem, of course, stems from the fact that it's crossplay, right? It's a lot easier to join your friend to play if you're both playing the PS5 version or the Steam version of the game. But if one of you is playing on Xbox and one of you is playing on PlayStation and one of you is playing on PC, you can't join each other's game because you can't like communicate with each other. You all have to join a lobby first, then add each other's like Hunter ID by being in the same lobby, looking at like the lobby member list and going, okay, this person, that's my friend, add them as a Monster Hunter friend. And then from there, you can invite each other to your games whenever you log on and like make a link party or a squad or whatever. It is so needlessly convoluted. And of course, it all stems from like the fact that it's crossplay, but there is no elegant solution here, I don't think. But Monster Hunter did it so badly. It's insane.
Has there ever been a game that, in both your opinions, has actually done playing a story game together where it actually works, where it just like syncs up?
The first thing that comes to mind for me, weirdly, is Borderlands.
I was going to say, the first Borderlands is the only one that I think has ever done it properly. Even the second one, I think they tweaked something where it didn't. I found it didn't work as well. But the first Borderlands is the only one that I'll give that to.
Because that game, it just whoever was the host, that's just the story mission you were doing.
Yeah.
Which seems like the most obvious solution is just, if you join somebody, you're doing their story.
And if you had it done already, it would show on their screen that the mission box was unchecked. And then if you had already done it for some reason, it would still show you the mission steps as if it's there for the first time, but it already shows it as checked off.
Yeah.
And then when if you had already completed it, but you're working with them on their game, it would literally just do a check mark and then it would slide to the mission thing, but it would just do a check mark on top of a check mark to say that, like, yeah, you are doing this again, but you've already done this. Borderlands is the first game is the only one that I'll ever give credit to actually do this properly that I've played. Yeah.
Now that you mention it, like Borderlands is pretty good at it, I think.
Just the first one. The second, and so far the second and the other ones, I think they've taken a step back when it comes to that shit.
I don't recall how the second one is different, just because I haven't played the first one. It's so freaking long.
They don't do like the story sync options as well. Like I think they're still looking at I think they're trying to go to a system where they have your own progress instead of like you have to be careful about whose game you're in to complete a mission.
Okay.
It's still not the worst, but the first Borderlands was the one I was super impressed with.
I was going to actually say Outriders is actually really good at this, and it's also really good at crossplay. When you join the game, you select your character, you're just immediately in the lobby, and it just shows like who's in your lobby. And if you have someone that's on crossplay, you literally just click in one of the sticks if you're on a console, and it shows a code. You read out that 4 or 5 digit code. They type it in on their game, and then they just join, and that's it. If the code messes up, I believe there's a way to refresh it. If there's not like an official quote unquote refresh button, there is a way to quickly refresh it, which has happened a few times, and like it's super seamless. And then if I'm on mission, I do think it has like a little bit of that desync. So it's like if I'm on mission 4 and you're on mission like 1, I don't know if it'll push you to 4. You could still play with me and like you'll be with me, but you'll be behind. But let's say like I'm on mission 4, you're on mission 6, and you jump in my game. So we're playing mission 4, and then we go 4, 5, 6, 7. We will both be on 7.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So that's pretty good. And you keep like all your character stuff because it's a looter shooter, and it's like, you want to keep your skills and level up your character and stuff. So you do keep that, which is nice. I'm not keen on a lot of the games lately where a lot of them don't take away your loot, but a lot of them kind of like sometimes they'll like scrap loot, or they'll scrap certain things. Like it'll be like, oh, like, you picked up a quest item, you can't have that because you're not on this mission. So we'll just give you like, 10 iron. It's like, I don't want 10 iron. Like I want that quest item. Like what's going on here? This guy gets a special sword and I get friggin' 10 iron. Like, thanks a lot. I had one Monster Hunter question for you, actually, Adriano, before we move on to the next story. Monster Hunter is not.
I've never played a Monster Hunter game. But that's what you're asking me.
So that is the question. So they are not story linked. Would you have to play them all? Like if you're like, I want to play Monster Hunter tomorrow, do you literally start at Monster Hunter on PS2? Do you have to?
I really hate to say this, but yes.
Oh God. That's the thing though. Oh, those older Monster Hunter games are super fucking hard by like today's standard. They are unforgiving and brutal. Yes,
this curse that I live with, it will. That's why when a franchise gets that far in, it's not that I'm not willing to enter the franchise. I'm willing to accept that I'm probably never going to play the later ones. I don't know how far in the Final Fantasy franchise I'd ever play because I would play the early ones before I get to the other ones. So yeah, that would also apply. There are very, very rare few exceptions in that I would make, but for the most part, yeah.
What exceptions have you made? Or can you recall?
Like anything that doesn't have a story, like definitively doesn't have a story. Like I have not played
Monster Hunter.
But no, there is a story though. They're just not connected, right?
No, there's no story in the first ones.
Yeah, there's no story in the first one.
It's story in that if you go on a quest and you like read the the quest description, there's like a little blurb of, oh, this monster came too close to this village, let's take it out. That is literally, it is so surface level. Like the first one that maybe had any semblance of a story is probably 3.
Yeah, I would have to make a judgment call on that then to decide. The answer is probably still no. I probably still play the early ones because another franchise that comes to mind, I think, is which is more realistic, would be Titanfall. I think.
Oh yeah. Yep.
So Titanfall, as I understand the first game, there is no campaign.
Correct. But the second one does have a campaign.
But is there a story in the first game? Even though there's no campaign, is there like just world lore and stuff that is just sprinkled around?
I don't know. I haven't played it.
So I have played it, and there is like so how it works is there's like a story mode. What it does is it launches you into battles, and you literally just do an online, like, whatever, like team deathmatch or whatever. And there'll be like, the person kind of calling in on your little video caller, and that will be like scripted stuff. And let's say you're on mission 2, so you're trying to get to mission 3. If you lose the match, it'll just be like, damn, we didn't, kill Dubda. We got to like, we'll get him next time. And then like, you got to do mission 2 again. Like, you got to play again, and you got to win that match to kill Dubda.
Dubda.
Man, I hate Dubda. Just objectively inferior to Skibidi.
Dubda.
Can you even play the first game anymore?
I don't think you can. That's where I would have to make a judgment call with that game specifically, because one of the few times I would like just say I can't do it is if it is literally not accessible by legal standards. Like if the game has just been discontinued or out of service or it can't be launched, then that is where I would make a judgment call and bypass it. But yeah, so no Monster Hunter for this guy.
Just the PSP versions.
Yeah, just Freedom Unite. Oh yeah. Or Portable Third.
Speaking of, earlier in the show we were talking about Diablo. We're going to be talking about Blizzard here. BlizzCon skips 2025, but will return in 2026 after 2 years off. This comes to us from GameSpot. Blizzard has announced that BlizzCon, its fan expo, will skip 2025, but return in September of 2026 at the Anaheim Convention Center. This marks a change from its usual November schedule. The event will take place on September 12th through the 13th, and Blizzard aims to make it an unforgettable experience, including features like opening ceremonies, in-depth panels, and competitive tournaments. The decision not to hold a BlizzCon in 2025 follows a similar choice in 2024, when the company opted to focus on live streams and announcements during other events like Gamescom. This means that there have only been 2 in-person BlizzCon events in 5 years. Ticket details for 2026 are not yet announced, but fans can sign up on the official website for updates. And Blizzard has expressed its commitment to making BlizzCon a special event for the community in 2026. I guess my question for this, and we can talk about BlizzCon because I don't think any of us have ever gone. I think there was like a digital Overwatch BlizzCon ticket once or something.
I've done that in the past.
What was that? Like, how was that?
It just gave you like the digital ticket just gave you when you log in your Blizzard account, it just gave you like a unrestricted access to all the video streams and all this stuff. And there was like a 2 or 3 day calendar. It honestly looked like an Outlook calendar. You open up and it was all color coded based on what franchise you wanted. Like Overwatch is yellow or Diablo is red. And then you just kind of you filter from there to be like what you wanted to watch. And I made sure to watch everything because that was an expensive ticket.
How much was it?
I don't remember. It was I think I do. I don't want to say how much, but it was because it also gave you a bunch of digital goodies too. Like it gave you a bunch of exclusive stuff for one of every. Like it gave you something exclusive in Overwatch, something exclusive in Diablo, something in StarCraft, and if I look through my spreadsheet long enough, I'll tell you what those digital goodies are. But yeah. And what episode are we on? This is 517.
That's correct.
Yep. Okay, so by the time this is supposed to come out, this thing is supposed to be. BlizzCon 2026 is supposed to happen. You'll probably be approaching episode 700 if I had to guess, and I'm going to put money on it that this BlizzCon does not happen. I have a feeling the 2026 one won't happen as well.
You know what? It's a good question because that was going to be the question I was going to ask you guys. Is like a lot of these, like we've lost. It's weird. It's like we've lost a E3, and we've kind of gained these little short events like State of Play, things like that. But then there's still these like big cons that are hanging in there. There's the, Gamescom, there's PAX, but then we also have these new things that sprung up. We have the Game Awards that sprung up. Although that ran side by side with E3 for a few years, of course, but we also have, I think it's like Summer Games Fest or Games of Summer or whatever it is, Jeff Keighley's thing. And it just feels weird that it's like these old like big events are kind of dying. But there still must be a call for these big events if we're still having them. Like it's kind of like, oh, E3's gone. Don't worry, we have Summer Games. It's like, hang on, isn't E3 gone because we didn't need that anymore? Now we got something else. Like what? Like what happened?
I think E3 is gone because the ESA just had such a grip on, like they had such hard cut rules about certain things about it, and they weren't, and they were unwilling to change. The thing though with BlizzCon is like it is a genuine fan event. Like I want to love BlizzCon and I want to love Blizzard and I want to be one of those hardcore fans. I just don't know if this is going to come back.
Do you see that because of the whole like sort of event thing we discussed? Or, I mean, for me personally, I used to be like not super hardcore battle or Blizzard fan. Like I was always on BattleNet games though. And I did like Blizzard, but I wasn't like super into them like some people. But I feel like in recent years, everyone's like, oh, bad monetization or over monetization. That's Blizzard. You know, it's just kind of like that's the meme now. Do you think it's that's doing it?
I think it's a combination of that certain franchise choices, like specifically the poor reception to Diablo Immortal, as well as the slowly downhill reputation for Overwatch. And there also have just been, we haven't heard anything worse, but the Blizzard Activision reputation of its workforce and its work environment and the way that they were treating employees was not super well received. Like as much as people, I think one of the best things for a corporate, like to safeguard it on a corporate level that could happen to Blizzard Activision was for Microsoft to come in and buy them. Because then you get actual people who know how to, safeguard those HR policies, actually run Blizzard properly. So, and here's the thing is have we ever seen Blizzard stuff? I can't remember, but have we ever seen Blizzard stuff actually be debuted or premiered or announced at other non-BlizzCon stuff? Like, do they ever show up at Summer Games Fest or the Game Awards or I know they've done Blizzard 3 Diablo 3 stuff on the PlayStation stage because there was at E3 one year, but. Like, I'm surprised now that Microsoft owns them that they're not trying to do just a little bit of a more inclusive kind of showcase. So
a bloody good question, actually, because like in recent years, like we mentioned Gamescom, but in previous years, I don't know. I did just look up, though.
I'm almost confident that Diablo 3 was on a PlayStation stage at its E3. Like, that's what I remember Diablo 3 for is like announced for a PlayStation console and it being on the PS3 stage at the press conference.
Well, because that became like a big thing, like it becoming like a quote unquote stick shooter was actually like a big move for them.
Yeah, and I just see I don't know what kind of big moves Microsoft is making in terms of amalgamating its Blizzard licenses now into like the bigger Microsoft family, but. I would like BlizzCon to keep going and be a thing, but we've seen major events come and go, and with 2 years off, I don't know if we saw this with E3. We're gonna take this year off. We'll be back next year. We're not going to be back this year. We'll be back next year. We'll be back, but it's going to be in a reduced capacity. We'll be back, but it's going to be different. And it's like we're not coming back. We're done. So let's put it this way: if this one happens, I'll be surprised. If the 2026 one doesn't happen, I don't think BlizzCon will ever come back.
I agree with that.
That's my rhetoric with that.
Because I did look this up. This is only one of Blizzard's games. I looked up like where StarCraft 2 was announced, and this is according to Wikipedia. Apparently, it was at the Blizzard Worldwide Invitational, like actually in South Korea, which is not BlizzCon, unless BlizzCon was at the same time or something. I don't know. But one thing I was going to also say is that games now, they cost so much and they also take so long to make. That it's sort of like if you want to have a con just for one like developer / publisher, it's like even somebody like Bethesda. It's like how many years in a row at Bethesda Con would you be playing like Starfield? It's Starfield again, ladies and gentlemen. It's Starfield one more time. No, 3 more times because our game got delayed by 2 years. Like it's just and it's like I get it, delay games, whatever, but it's like I wonder if these like very like smaller events that are meant for one dev or one like family of developers is enough because like Xbox as a whole is pumping out a lot of stuff right now, but Sony has a family of studios and they're kind of going through a lull right now, even though there's so many studios. So like what's there for the fans, I guess. Like we're gonna have a presentation and it's like Diablo Immortal 2. like what are we going to show off there?
Yeah, it's or another Hearthstone expansion, which like they just keep on reworking that game. So
Is it still going?
yeah, it's still going. I have a lot of unopened packs in my thing. Every once in a while when I open up Battle.net, be like, you have 70 packs unopened. Here's another 20 packs. Especially when Marvel Snap was like taking off. Like Marvel Snap was really taking up a lot of people's attention. Blizzard was just handing out those packs to just accounts for free, and it's like kind of like a small part of me almost launched it. I'm like, I kind of just want to open some of these, but I wouldn't be doing myself any favors. So I miss Hearthstone. I miss like having a card game that I can go in and manage my decks and just play dailies on, and it was such a feel good experience. Just everything about it, the presentation, the feel, the balance early on. It got pretty unbalanced by the time I left, but I miss having something like that. So, and then Marvel Snap filled it for a bit, but yeah.
Blizzard of all companies is one that you really see respond to competition. Like we saw, like we were saying with Hearthstone, but then we also saw like Overwatch kind of like fall into disrepair, for lack of a better way to say it. And then Marvel Rivals comes out, and then they're like, you can earn skins with loot boxes again. It's like,
yeah. God, when I saw that, I'm like, God, why? Everything about this is just. I actually picked up a book from the library. It's called Play Nice, and it's about the.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Jason Schreier, I think is.
Yeah.
So I am actually scheduled. I'm going to a coffee shop this weekend specifically to sit down and read for a little bit, which I haven't done in a while, and that is the book that I'm going to be starting reading. And I'm very, very interested to see what comes out of it in terms of specifically Diablo reception, in terms of Immortal to Diablo 4, and the decisions which led to Overwatch 2 being what it is, and just a mishandling of that. So
what a downfall.
I miss the feel good days of Blizzard.
Because like I would say, Overwatch 2 was largely like almost a monetization move, or at the very least that's what it feels like.
Yeah, it does not feel good at all. They went to what is very clearly a Fortnite system, went to a battle pass right as the battle pass market was starting to crash, and now nobody really even wants to do battle passes anymore. And you load it up, you not only do have multiple currencies, there's just storefronts and marketplaces everywhere. And I already kind of smirked when they announced the Overwatch Classic mode. It's like, we're going to bring back Overwatch exactly what it was on launch day, 6v6, no limits. And then they probably watched their numbers go up, and then for those 3 weeks, and then they came back down. Because I went back to it. I'm like, all right, I'm going to play Overwatch for 3 weeks. I'm not playing Overwatch 2, I'll play Overwatch. And as soon as I was done, I was off again. And then they announced, we're bringing back loot boxes. And I'm like, okay, so clearly like there's some formula, there's some number crunching on the back end where you guys now are starting to realize that you strayed too far away from the formula that worked. People were pumping money into loot boxes, and you tried to go for something bigger, and it's clearly you regret doing that. And I even asked my sister-in-law, who got into Overwatch 2. She's never played the first one. And she's like, how are the loot boxes? And I go, how are the loot boxes? She goes, good. I'm like, she goes, like, I opened them, but like and I'm like, you have no idea what the loot boxes were like in the first game. She goes, no. I go, let me tell you something. I go, when you open up a loot box in the first game, it was magical. It felt great. Like the animation, like the box would go up and it would explode, and then you would see your colors. And you'd be like, I see a fucking yellow, and you see a land, and then you get something, you're like, yeah, I got it. Yeah, whatever. And now,
fucking iPad kid.
Yeah, then I watched an animation, or I think I don't know if Ryan sent it or whatever, but it's like it does, they copy and paste it, but the loot box, like, it goes up and it explodes, but then it doesn't do a landing animation, I guess because their infrastructure doesn't allow it, but it literally just dips to black, or like just fades away, and then it just it goes back to the battle pass screen to show you what you got, or or the equivalent what you got to it. And it's like, that is so fucking disappointing. Yeah, that loot box animation for the first game was fucking perfect. It hit everything, it hit all the spots. and then they
The
took it away.
dopamine receptors were firing off like crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's why I imagine like if Nintendo, it'd be a dangerous thing if like Nintendo ever got into like a loot box system for a game, because you know what that loot box would be. It would be like a Mario style question box, and like the
Oh yeah.
animation.
How could they do anything else? Or maybe like a Zelda chest, maybe
something like that, or whatever. But like whatever
Pokeball.
character comes up would take the box and like break it open, and it'd be like the most beautiful, crisp looking animation, and to reveal what you got, you're like, that would be a dangerous fucking thing.
And you'd be able to watch that animation 15 years later and it would still look as good because their style would just like age.
Because they know. They know. That's why people still love the goddamn Wii marketplace, the storefront music.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sad that they couldn't even. Well, it's sad that they couldn't even like just recycle the old like loot box. Like I figured that's what they would do. It's like, this is like going to be low effort. They just
they did up to the point that they could, but they probably, the way that it's structured is they couldn't animate. Like it was one fluid animation from the old one saying that like you open it and then it lands and it shows you what you got. But I guess whatever they were pumping out of the new loot box they probably just couldn't get it to translate well from what you're getting to what you had to show. Like they had to get you back to the battle pass screen as quickly as possible. So they just like explode and then they just like fade to black. And it's like, you fuckers, you couldn't even do this right. So.
Tragedy.
Yeah.
So that's BlizzCon. BlizzCon potentially 2026. Hopefully we'll see what's up. Maybe we'll get another game. Hopefully it's not Diablo Immortal 2. Or if it is, let's hope it's good. Well, I know some people like that game, but I am not a fan. And final story, I can't remember if we talked about it before the show or if we talked about it at the beginning of the show, but Defiance MMO could be making a comeback. This comes from Game Rant. Fox, which is not like the news network, Fox is an FAWKES. It's a game company, announced plans to revive Defiance and relaunch it on PC in April of 2025. Man, coming up. The company hopes to reconnect players with the familiar world and to create new memories. They're collaborating with the gaming community to rebuild the game and encouraging fans to participate through their Discord server. Originally launched in 2013 by Tryon Worlds, Defiance was a transmedia project tied to Sci-Fi TV. Say that 30,000 times fast. I mean,
30,000.
Yeah, we'll all get real tired. To the Sci-Fi TV series of the same name. It transitioned to a free-to-play model back in 2014, but was later shut down by its previous owner, Gamigo, hopefully I'm saying that correctly, in 2021. So not that long, honestly. If the PC relaunch proves successful, Fox may explore bringing the game back to consoles. And they've emphasized preserving and breathing life into older games, having worked on similar projects for other MMOs like Shaya and Last Chaos. And I put this story in here just because like three of us had played it, Adrian will watch the show. Tim and I played the game, and just Tim watched the show. Man, so it's a crazy Defiance world out there.
And it's yours to discover. Play now at defiancegame.com. Probably not even active still.
I remember seeing the Defiance commercials every morning after Stargate SG-1 on Space.
Man, why do you have to say that? It's sad.
It's wait, which part is sad? Like the fact that Space no longer exists, or like actually, fun fact, I'm currently rewatching Stargate SG-1 with my girlfriend, and we have a lot of fucking episodes left. We've been watching it for a very long time already.
Yeah, I'll tell you after, but I found the raw recording files of that pilot podcast that you, Ryan, and I recorded.
Oh, Starcast?
Starcast, Starspace, or Starseed, or whatever.
Yeah.
Starseed.
Yeah. It was because Matt's a Stargate guy.
Yep.
I'm a Star Trek guy, and Ryan is a Star Wars guy. So I pitched a podcast where the three of us record a podcast where we watch every episode and movie of Stargate, Star Trek, Star Wars mixed together, and it's like
one of these things is not like the others.
Yeah, and that the whatever episode that we record that day, like one week I'd be doing a Star Trek, and if next is the Stargate, hosting duties would go from me to Matt, and then when it's Star Wars, it would be Ryan, and then So the three of us actually recorded like a pilot episode for me to play around with. And then I started working on it. I'm like, I don't know if this will actually work long term. And I shelved it. And then just the other day, I found the original project files in my drive because I thought I had lost them.
Time to bring it back.
Yeah.
It's a man, but you wanted to like cut the actual episodes, like the actual like bits of the episode, because we watched like I think it was the pilot. I don't remember which pilot, whether it was with Kirk or with Pike, but the pilot of the original series of Star Trek, and it was like that's gonna be a lot of work to be like, you know, listen to the show, get the audio all good, and then be like, okay, I need this B-roll, that B-roll. Like that's gonna be a lot.
Yeah, I still like honestly, one day if I'm really bored, I still might just like do the edit just to see how it goes, and then let you guys listen to it. But that would be how I approach it. But
that'd be cool. I mean, it'd be a cool like project, whether it like actually finishes like all the episodes. It'd be hilarious if
it would be a good excuse for me to get into the Stargate, Matt.
There you go. And I was about to say, like, if Amazon brings back Stargate, we could have like 1 or 2 more series. So this Starcast or whatever it is going to be like 2 bajillion episodes long.
Yeah, we would die before we actually finish it.
Yup.
Yeah, actually,
it's a lot of episodes of TV shows.
Yeah, it would just run for the rest of our lives.
We'd be able to listen to episode 1 and be like, man, I was so youthful. And meanwhile, like you hear my like cane like clicking around, like, hang on here, boys.
Yeah.
Cane.
Defiance. I enjoy the 3 seasons. I like low budget Canadian sci-fi shows.
It was Canadian too, wasn't it?
It was Canadian by Canadian standards. It was American by American standards. We don't have the same standards, so
good old CanCon.
Yeah, so a show or movie can be considered American by Americans, and it can be considered Canadian by Canadians because we don't share the same standards. Okay. It's we do like a weird point system where like the director is like at 2 points, the cinematographer's 2 points, I think producers 2 points, and like writers 2 points, and then like art is 1, and like other editors 1, and I think you have to come out like out of I think 10 points or something like that. I think you need to have like 6 or 7. So if you can come up with like six or 7 points from a combination of people that are Canadian, the Canadian government will consider it to be a Canadian production. Like that's
I was gonna say, that must be a little bit different from radio, because radio was like it included or not radio, but for the purposes of radio, if something was considered Canadian content for music, it was really weird because it was like not only did you have to like. It wasn't just if it was like a Canadian artist. It also had to be like, was it recorded in Canada?
Yeah, like there's a lot of weird stipulations.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting that there's I thought it was going to be something like, well, if like Canadians, or it's considered Canadian by Canadians if it was filmed here or something. Because I know that like Stargate SG-1 was like filmed, like most of the planets are just like the Canada forest.
because there's definitely been Canadian productions which did not film in Canada, but it's like a Canadian production team that just did
it's like if the writers are Canadian, if the director is Canadian, that can still count.
The above the line people are what they really look at.
So I guess you'd have to figure out that. I was gonna say, is Stargate considered Canadian? Because I've heard it been called Canadian, I've heard it been called American. Maybe it is a mix. Because I know it's primarily Vancouver, but I mean, we'd have to get into the whole thing.
Honestly, it comes down to who you ask if it's Canadian or not.
We have some crazy systems, us humans. Sometimes it's like, what is this? Well, I mean, it depends who you ask. It's like, what are you talking about? Is this an apple or is it a pear? Like, what are we doing here? But anyway, that's Defiance. I've never watched it. Only seen those commercials. Played the game. It was pretty fun. Wasn't too bad. And a recent game kind of reminds me of it. It's called Once Human. Kind of reminds me of that. It just sort of feels the same way. It's totally different in story and stuff. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that because I don't remember the Defiance story, but I assume it's much different than Defiance.
I just looked. I have Defiance seasons 2 and 3 on my Plex.
Wait, not number 1. You don't know
I don't know where I watched the version, but I have seasons 2 and 3 of Defiance on my Plex line.
Man, you probably watched the first one on Space.
Maybe I might have legitimately like recorded it old DVR style on my Rogers box or something, or my whatever. But yeah, I have. There you go, Matt. You want to watch it? I can add the first season. I can go get the first season and add it if you want.
I'd probably watch it, honestly.
All right.
Likely because I've been on a documentary kick lately, and I woke up too many times because I usually fall asleep watch TV. Woke up too many times to people crying, because usually it's like a murder documentary, and I'm like, oh god, like what? Like okay, like I've seen documentaries for a bit. I need to watch something else. And then I turned on the Halo show, and that show fucking sucks. It's a dumb show. It's bad, and you should not watch it, even though it's on Netflix. Yeah. But I mean, that's it for the top stories of the week. On to what we're playing. I'm going to let either of you two take it away. Whomever wants to go first, please.
Hey,
The
Drano,
floor
you
is
go ahead.
yours.
I started some stuff I like shelved pretty quickly. I'm starting to lower my threshold about where I'd give up on games. Let me actually bring up my thing right now.
Wait, so you're giving up on them more easily now?
Yeah.
Shit.
Wait, what? I thought this was like going to be an uplifting.
Yeah, so actually my gaming is garbage. It's the worst it's ever been.
Yeah, I don't play a whole lot. Let's see what I'm playing right now. Like I started things like, let's see what I shelved recently, because I know I put stuff in my shelved playlist. I manage my sheet more than I actually play games.
That can be a game in itself, maybe.
Yeah. This spreadsheet is one of the best video games I've ever played.
IRL management sim.
Yeah, like I started what's the Disco Elysium,
Oh,
and then
okay.
I fell off that pretty quickly. Like some stuff with my user, like with my board game group, we try playing, and then we kind of like we want to start Dead by Daylight, but we haven't yet. I've kind of sunset Sea of Thieves, and then that same group we tried playing Back for Blood. They're not liking it, so we kind of are pausing for now while we try to find something else. I'm trying to pitch to them World War Z. The one thing I still play, yeah, I think World War Z is a better Left 4 Dead game than Back for Blood is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, this is random. Did you ever finish playing through all the Mario Party games with that group?
No, so I just got my Switch back. My Switch went to my nephew for a bit, so
okay.
I just got it back. We are going to resume it. I actually also have a copy of, it's right there, the Metroid Prime remake.
Remaster?
Yeah, remaster.
That's good. That was fun.
So I'm going to be playing that. I have Tears of the Kingdom. I think it's at my brother's place right now, but I'm going to go get that as well. That's on the docket to play. But the other thing that like I've been playing like a lot of little things. Like I played a word game that was a book originally, then it hit Steam, and then it hit iOS, called Lock, which is like a very tricky word game. But other things that I've been playing is like I mentioned it earlier, but I went and got Silent Hill, the original Silent Hill, because I felt like playing that on the PlayStation 3 store, which I was surprised I was able to actually get on and buy and transact. So Lock Digital, that's the word game I'm playing. So I'm playing the original Silent Hill. I've been playing Overcooked with my girlfriend. And then the only thing that I've been regularly playing, and I still play at least once a week, is Helldivers 2.
Man, I still haven't touched Helldivers. I got to get to it.
Helldivers 2 is so fucking fun. I love that game so much. What I have been playing a lot of are my board game group, and I have been playing a lot of board games based on video games.
Oh,
so for a long time, games based on video games were not terrible, but they weren't the greatest. Like there is a Bloodborne game. I think it's pretty okay received. Like the BioShock Infinite board game was pretty well received, but recently they really stepped up, and they've been actually been pumping out some pretty good stuff. So like the Slay the Spire board game is super fun. We've been playing a lot of that. I kickstarted, and I have a copy of the Dead Cells board game. I've been running through like just fake like test playthroughs with that, so I can kind of pitch that to my board game group. And they just announced a Helldivers 2 board game, which I'm very curious to see how that is. But that's been pretty much what I've been playing. A lot of Helldivers and Silent Hill. The other thing that I've been playing is something called doom scrolling on Reddit, and I've been doing a lot of that in my spare time because of all the tariff stuff. So Reddit is a big video game that I've been playing quite a bit.
I was actually going to ask you, is this like a real like indie video game? And then I was like, wait
No,
a second.
no. The biggest video game that I've been playing is me going back and forth between Reddit, World News, and like MSNBC and CNN, and just trying to keep up to date to what the fuck is happening right now in the world.
I did that for I want to say 2 days just with this whole like situation. And then I remember there was one day where I just had to like, I had a bunch of work. I had a bunch of like meetings and stuff. So I like read in the morning and then I went into a bunch of meetings and it was like 2 or 3 hours. And then there was like one of my group chats was going on and somebody had mentioned like that, like, like, you know, we have until like April, whatever for the tariffs. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, it's supposed to be like right now, like, you know, an hour ago or something. It's like, no, they got delayed again. And I was like, you know what? I'm done. I'm not reading this anymore. I'm worried about myself. I'm just going to save money. And like, I can't do this. Like, we're not doing this flip flop crap anymore. It's making me depressed. It's over. Like, I just can't do it. I can't handle it.
There comes a point where you can only care about so many like world ending scenarios at the same time. And it's like, you got to just pick one and just like focus on what you can focus on.
Yeah. Like I just reached a point where I was like, I'm going to do my job and save my money and I'm just going to live. And if I suddenly look up and there's missiles, then it's like, well, there it goes. And the hits. And that's the end of that. Like, can't keep worrying about everything. Like, it's just too much.
Yeah, knowing our luck, our apocalypse is going to be slow and not fun. Like, we're going to have to go to work still and
and
like slowly burn up over 60 years. And then the day I retire, the day Friday I check out, and I'm like, all right, I'm retired. That's when it's going to happen.
I have this like terrible.
I won't even get the weekend.
Don't even get the weekend. It's a Friday afternoon. The world ends. God damn it, man! I couldn't even give you Saturday.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I have this like terrible. I don't even know where this came from. This like vision of the apocalypse in my head, where I'm like in like a whole bunch of like minor clothes. Like I'm all dusty and I have a pickaxe ready, and I'm listening to the radio, and it's like letter M, all Matts and like Marks and everything. Anyone with that starts with letter M, like to mine 26. Like, here we go. Like hum diddly ho to work and like
hum diddly ho.
Like I just have this. I don't know what it is. I don't know why that's a thing in my head, but it is. But,
it's your perfect world.
But no, that's what I've been playing.
Well, actually, Adrian, I was going to ask you something. So like, it kind of sounds like you want like you don't. I don't know how long you like do your game sessions. But there's a guy on GameScoop, which is an IGN podcast. His name is Justin Davis. And I haven't listened to GameScoop in a while, but in the last episode I listened to, he started streaming his games with just like a controller on a phone. And he said it like completely revolutionized how he handles games. He's like, if I'm like, you know, if I'm like waiting, because he has like older kids, I think. So it's like if he goes to the breakfast table and he's still waiting for them to come downstairs, he's like, oh, I got 15 minutes. And he'll just like pop, you know, do a full console game kind of thing. But like, he'll just like play that. And he's like, I do this all the time now. And it's like, I'm kind of amazing how, you know, how much progress you get and how like gaming is kind of different. And I was kind of curious if that's something that you would potentially do. Cause like for Christmas this year, I actually got a controller for my phone and I've been kind of doing the same thing where I just kind of like, I could do a bit of soccer too. Only got 20 minutes. I'm not going to like go and fire up the console, but I'll stream it real quick.
I wouldn't need a phone for that because like that's why I bought a Steam Deck.
Okay.
And while the Steam Deck does help me play a little bit more, especially when I'm away from home, because like I actually like I do half my week now, like I'm spending it elsewhere. Like I'm in Etobicoke. Like I'm not even at my place. So like it does help me with that. I don't think a phone would actually help me in this situation. I think me not playing games is also just like a bigger time management issue that I think I need to resolve on my end. It's probably more so me, not where I'm getting my games from. It's an Adriano thing that I think I need to resolve internally to get back to that. So, yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on. So, I mean, yeah, it all makes sense.
Yeah. It's a lot of things that I want to do and I need to get done. And so I'm the best man for my brother's wedding. He's getting married in a month. It's like, that's going to be eating up a lot of time but
yeah, no, for sure.
Hopefully next time I'm on, I have some different games I've been playing besides
Balatro.
three games and Reddit. Yeah. What have you guys been playing?
Dan, please.
Yeah, for me, mostly far and away Monster Hunter Wilds and Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, which are both really solid games. I don't have really much to add for Monster Hunter since the last episode. I think the last podcast that I was on was post its release. But I'm pretty much just at kind of the like what's considered the end game grind currently. But what is nice is that the first title update should be coming out fairly soon, which is going to add a new monster, and it's going to add a new tier of difficulty 2 endgame monsters. There's a lot of people complaining the game's too easy right now, so I'm sure we're going to start to see a little bit more satisfaction with the end game with adding this new difficulty that is not going to be master rank. They usually reserve that for the expansion. So that'll be cool. They're keeping it alive every week with 5 side quest objectives that you can go for that gives you materials for upgrading your armor. And then they add event quests that you can do something specific, a specific quest that'll give you usually they give you aesthetic customization options for doing those. And so just the game's still in its like infancy pretty much. It's only like 3-4 weeks old now, so there's still lots to come. And then with Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, like it came out not terribly long before Monster Hunter, so I didn't have a ton of time to get into it. That's another easily 100-hour RPG that I've been playing. I didn't manage to finish it before Monster Hunter, but I've been going back to it every once in a while in between, and it's just like it's everything that was fantastic about the first game. Just like again, it's the writing. Like man, talking about a narrative in a game, the writing in Kingdom Come is just so superior to Monster Hunter. It's like not even it's not even a competition. Like that game isn't necessarily trying to like have a really good main story, and it's just way more compelling and way more sincere. But I mean, you have to consider the fact that like a game called Monster Hunter, which is about hunting monsters, and the end game loop is to hunt monsters, to use their parts to craft weapons and armor, to hunt more monsters. Like, I feel like you've written yourself into a corner a little bit when like you've established that for the game, and now you're trying to add a narrative to it later, versus something that takes place in like 15th century Bohemia, where there's a lot of political civil unrest, and there's like the class wars between the nobility and the common folk, and you're caught in the middle of it. That's just inherently way more compelling than, action game that didn't have a story to start with. So, but man, the one thing that's like far and away the best indication of writing to me in that game is that it's similar to the Obsidian games, where if you have a character who has low intelligence, the dialogue options are like ridiculous if your character is like, stupid, essentially. And the way that they do it in Kingdom Come is that if your Henry doesn't have a good speech or scholarship skill yet, like if they're both quite low, he won't know what the things that people are talking about necessarily, like whether it's a language or whether it's particular information pertaining to like a skill or history or whatever. But that doesn't stop him from trying to make stuff up and like act like he does know some of the time. And then some of the lines that he drops when you're obviously your skill is too low to pass the check, but he tries anyway, is just like so good. Whether it's like wordplay or he's mixing up a definition with something else, or there was a dialogue option one time where I got to tell a yo mama joke to a guy, and then he said that his mom was dead. And then I said that my mom was dead, and then we just kind of stared at each other awkwardly. Like such a good moment in an RPG. Like those are the kind of like narrative things that we should be highlighting in gaming, not Ryozo telling people that the story in Monster Hunter Wilds is like the best, the pinnacle of their achievement. Like the only thing that I can think for Monster Hunter for a compelling story is that so far with what's like in the game, I'm hoping that is just setup for something else. I'm sure they're going to expand the story through title updates, and then obviously through like the master rank expansion and stuff. I just hope that everything that there is now is setting up to something, and that they're like, oh man, the narrative's so good, but that's because they know what's still coming, and we don't know that yet. So like from the consumer perspective, it's pretty meh. But maybe they're playing some 4D chess and it's gonna like pan out later. But I don't know.
What, man? Do you think they're going to actually add to the story, like with an expansion? Like I know you mentioned there's title updates; those are just probably going to be monsters and stuff. But if they actually, I don't know, add a new region, add the master rank, add a big, another new big bad, do you think we're going to have more like, okay, back on rails again? We're going to be exploring the new biome, and we're going to be talking to these characters, maybe a couple of new ones. Do you think they're going to do that?
Master rank, definitely. I don't know about title updates. It would be kind of cool if they do it that way and kind of like expand the story more gradually. But I don't know. I don't know. They make a really big fuss about it. So one can only hope, because they kind of have nowhere to go but up from here. Not that it's like bad. It's not like glaringly terrible or anything like that. But it's pretty standard, Like they're not doing anything too crazy, subverting expectation and stuff.
It's still like, it's very, I don't even know how to really describe this. It's sort of like the story of Monster Hunter is very forgettable. Meanwhile, like you've told me, to compare it to the other game you're playing, KCD2, it's like you've told me like funny stories that even I remember about like the side quests and of the story and stuff like that. Like the wedding fight in the poo bog, stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Meanwhile, it's like, well, like what happened in Monster Hunter? It's like, well, there was a village in trouble. It's like I only have like the Cole's notes in my head. A village was in trouble. We went there. We ate some dirty old bread, and then and then we went to another region, and then they couldn't start a big forge thing, so we started it. Like it's, I don't, it's like, come on.
Yep. Yeah. So I don't know. I can like again, it's not my main concern with Monster Hunter. So if we have it, expand in the future and it becomes better, like I'm all for it. But it's not what I'm playing the game for in the first place, so it's fine.
No, like it's definitely just for the hunts and like, they're repeating hunts. And actually, I was going to say something. I was going to say that I'm kind of surprised that Monster Hunter, surprised and not surprised, they've never done this, but I wouldn't be surprised because the formula fits so well into a battle pass where it's like, oh, like the weekly quest is kill 3 of these monsters, and the daily quest is like kill 1 of these and do this and that. And it's I get that like maybe they don't want you to enter that monotony, but like I feel like people would really want to dress up their hunters, and you could do different like themes for each of the battle passes. Like you could have like the lava armor and stuff, and because you were like transmuting armor, I think. I
mean, you say that, but like, that's kind of already in the game, and like that was in World and stuff too. Like that's the event quests that I'm talking about, and the weekly bounties, they do have that. So it's effectively already there. It's just not in a battle pass format specifically.
Oh, so hang on. So are those weeklies? For some reason, I thought those weeklies were like in the game. They weren't like, I don't know what you call it, but like server driven or whatever. So they are like server driven, and it's like once that weekly quest is gone, it's gone forever. And like I thought it was more like you sign up with the guild or something, because I haven't done this yet. I'm still kind of like doing the story. It's like
it's mostly end game grind, like the weeklies. Because they want you to get through the low rank first, which is most of the story, and then you get to the high rank, which is where a lot of people consider to be like the actual end of the game, or like the end game where that loop begins, which is like the vast majority of the what you're gonna have while you're playing Monster Hunter.
Okay, because for some reason my mind went, how like we used to do those like quests where it'd be like, hey, we need some more resources or whatever, we need like 6 like herbs or whatever. I thought it was gonna be stuff like that where it'd be like, oh, I went to the guild, I got a voucher, it was like 1 week, but it's actually 1 week in game, and like I go and I like kill 6 of these things, and it's like, hey, thanks, now hopefully you got 3 of these plates or whatever from this monster because it's rare, because we need that. I thought that's what the formula was going to be more like.
Yeah, I mean, it's very similar to World in that regard, and then they're adding stuff in the title update with like the new tempered monsters, and then they're adding like a proper gathering hub again, like there was in World as well in previous Monster Hunter games. So like, it's it is advancing, like to be like, I think that people's criticisms of the game in its current state are fair, but thankfully it is stuff that's like being addressed, and it was already planned for the roadmap of the game to be addressed. So
yeah, I've already seen some memes where people are like, I went through all this story and stuff and there's no end game, and it's like, don't worry, like I'm sure there will be though, because they know like they've done this before. I think in any or maybe even all of their titles, they've had a pretty strong end game. So
yeah, I mean they've got these like, and they do like collaborations with other game series and devs and stuff. Like in World, they had the behemoth fight from Final Fantasy 14, and which is like, the MMO. So it's like a literal raid boss fight, and it has like these dramatic mechanics that are exclusive to that hunt. And like there's even some like spectacle fights in Wilds like that are in the base game already that, kind of have these almost like more larger scale dramatic spectacle fights, hunts as mechanics in the game already. And like, so we can expect to see for sure a ton more of that. So like, I feel like there's a lot to be excited about for the future of the game. And I know that people like to just like complain about the bad and stuff a lot of the time, but it's there's lots to be excited about too.
Yeah. And I mean, like we played it a fair bit, and like, I think you said we're like maybe like just past the half, maybe like around the halfway point. So, I mean, even the story's taken a fair bit of time, and it's been fun so far. So, yeah, I'm having a good time with it. So like, I'm looking forward to whatever they bring out. But I mean, so I guess I'll transition into what I've been playing. I've also obviously been playing Monster Hunter, kind of commented on that already. And then I'm still playing Stalker 2. So last week I mentioned that I did like one of what I thought was 3, but it ended up being 4 objectives of a side quest. And so I had a longer play session last week, and I was like, all right, I'm going to like kind of jump in and get some stuff done. And I was like, I'll finish this side quest and then I'll go and do like a story quest right after. I ended up finishing the 4 parts of the side quest, but it led me to new areas. So of course I explored the crap out of them, got a bunch of artifacts, and had to like lug them back to base and stuff. And it was a whole thing there. And then I was kind of like done for the night, but the mission was like, oh, go cash it in. So I was like, you know what? Okay. So going to cash it in is like kind of way down the road. I was like, fair enough. I'll go down there. So I go and I run down to this guy's bunker, and he's like, oh, like, thanks. Like, I'll check the status of this. And he gives me $3,000, which is like basically nothing. And then he's like, well, just to let you know, like, I need you to go do something else. And I'm like, oh my God, like this, like I just effectively did like a super long play session. I did not advance the story at all. And I haven't completed a side quest at this point. Like, game's too big. This game's really big, especially if you're a person that like searches every nook and cranny, of which I am doing because it's very rewarding, as I've mentioned several times. So I have well past the 50-hour point. I think I might be at like 65-ish hours or something like that, I want to say, I estimate. And then, of course, my save is going to reflect less hours because I've died a bunch and like lost time, sometimes up to 20 minutes, which really sucks. But that's Stalker 2. If you really want a game where you can really dig in and go hunting through ruins of stuff and like getting cool rewards, then it's the game for you. Adriano's type of game for sure. You'll be in one facility for like ever. I do have like,
sounds like me.
Well, I have like one example where I went to a facility to get a collar off of a mutant. And as I walk in, I walk by this building and it's like really precariously placed. So I go walking over to it and there's a keypad. So I'm like, okay, I have to find the code somewhere. So I go and I do the mutant thing, and the mutant thing ends up being kind of like a scam, like in the game. So I have to like deal with the situation. And while I'm in there running around doing the fight, I end up noticing like, hang on, there's like other areas of this building that I think I can like jump puzzle around. So I do that, and it leads me to another exit. I leave the exit. I'm like, hang on, there's probably an artifact out here. Pull out the artifact thing. Okay, yes, there is. Get an artifact. Now I'm further in, and it's like, oh, there's a stash over here. Another jump puzzle. As I'm jumping up, I go higher, and I'm like, wait, hang on. There's another part of this facility. Actually, there's 3 more parts of this facility, and one of them's kind of down the road. Okay, go running down there, get in a gunfight a few times, start getting attacked. I'm like about to go to the very last area finally through, all kinds of like going through different buildings and stuff. I pull out my detector at random. I find, oh my God, there's another artifact. I'm about to go do that. And then Tim's seen me do this once. All of a sudden the sky turns red. You get a thing on there. So all stalkers like get inside of cover because there's an emission coming. So now I'm in a gunfight. I'm over encumbered. I'm trying to navigate myself down like a cement structure that's kind of like the LA River to grab an artifact, but I'm super slow and I need to run to a sewer pipe. The guys who were shooting at me have dropped their guns basically, and they're running to the sewer pipe. I'm trying to kill them because I don't want to fight them in a sewer pipe. Stalker 2, like
it's funny. It's funny how you use sewer pipe. It's not sewer. You kept on saying sewer pipe.
Sewer pipe.
We're in the sewer pipe, and I don't want to get to the sewer pipe, so I'm running from the sewer pipe, but I don't want to kill this guy in the sewer pipe.
Because, well, I guess because like the how I was doing it was you can enter from like the main hole up top, but how I was doing it is because this thing's like the LA River. It has like this big pipe sticking out, so I was like down in the river, and I can jump up into the pipe and then like get deeper in, so the emission doesn't kill me. And I've had serious incidents before where I've been in the middle of the field. We all get into safety, and I'm like, hang on. Because other people will also get the alert for the emission and they'll move in. I'm like, is that guy? And just like grab the revolver. It's like, it's that motherfucker, isn't it? And then sure enough, he gets into cover. He realizes who I am. Then he pulls a gun and now we're all fucking shooting at each other inside of this little tiny safe area. Game's crazy. I'm really enjoying it. It's really hard and I'll never complete it.
Good summary.
Yeah. But that's it. That's been my week. I think that's it. Unless we have anything else to add, to talk about, to advertise. I have no idea.
Just your banking information, I guess.
That's right. Adriano, we have a new tradition here. You can start first. We advertise all our banking information at the end of each episode.
Yeah, good thing I have your credit card, so I'll just put yours up.
Oh, you son of a bitch.
No!
No. Man, the old switcheroo where like you're reading it out. I'm like, hang on, that sounds pretty familiar.
That sounds awfully familiar.
Yeah. 2575.
And it says here, cardholder name, Matt Lawrence. Wait, hold up. Like, what's going on here?
Matt, I need your full name, the name, your mother's maiden name, and the list of your greatest fears, if you don't mind.
just as a little cherry on top. I actually really hate when my banking information makes it out to the public. No, oh no!
It's like that guy that he was running like that it was like one of those I think it's called like LifeLock or something, where it was, I don't know if that's the company, but it was like he was running like a security company, and the CEO his sin, yeah, he put out his sin or his like whatever his ID number, and it got fucking hacked like almost immediately.
Yeah. See, I'm so confident about this. I'll put my own social security number out of the public, and he put like a bit out on the side of a truck and it drove around town. He's like, I'm confident I'll be fine. Just as immediately been frauded.
He was not fine.
It's a reminder that there is security in obscurity.
Yes. If nobody knows who you are, they don't know who to go after.
Correct. But that's it. Tim, where can the folks find you?
Yes, if you're interested in Monster Hunter or some Kingdom Come Deliverance, don't forget to check out my stream 5 days a week, twitch.tv/thesidetrack, where we are not always live, but we are live a good amount of the time. And yeah, it's been fun.
Cool. And you can also find us on Wednesdays between 8 and 9 Eastern Toronto time at twitch.tv/day1patchmedia. Alrighty, everybody. See you later.
See ya.
Peace.